Hello everyone, this is Kjsea 2025 Section B, 40 marks. This is the exam that was done by all the candidates in the country. Please welcome this Section B, structured questions. Identify two science skills required when using a meter rule. So a meter rule, when using a meter rule, you are measuring something. So the first scientific skill required is measurement skills. Measurement skills. Skills. Number two, when you handle the ruler, the skill that we're using is what we call manipulation skills. Manipulation skills. Manipulation skills is how a learner or a person can handle apparatus skillfully. So when handling the ruler, you're using manipulation skills. Of course, for you to measure, you have to observe. So we have observation skills, communication skills. All those skills are there, but the two main ones are measurement skills and manipulation skills. Part B, state the SI unit of the following physical quantity used in integrated science. Physical activity or quantity is length. Then we have SI unit. This one is supposed to be quantity, not physical activity. So length, the SI unit for length, because it's a basic quantity, is meter. Meter. Number two, time. The SI unit of time is second. Second. Of course, length and time is among the 7 basic units or basic quantities according to the SI or the International System of Units. Question 32. During a class discussion on mixtures, learners listed the following substances. The first substance is air, which is a mixture of gases. 2, we have water and sand, sandy water, which is a mixture of sand and water. 3, we have rain water, of course, which is a mixture of rainwater and other particles in the atmosphere. And a mixture of maize and beans. Question A. In the table provided, classify the substances as either homogeneous or heterogeneous. So homogeneous substances, these are substances that when mixed, they form a uniform mixture. No layers are formed in a homogeneous mixture. So we have number 1 from the list that we are given. Number 1 is air, and number 2 is rainwater. Rainwater. So these are homogeneous mixtures. So automatically sand water and maize and beans becomes heterogeneous. Sandy water, comma, maize and beans. Maize and beans. So for that, each answer is equivalent to half a mark. So half a mark for air, half a mark for rainwater, half a mark for sand water, and half a mark for maize and beans. So the total amounts to 2 marks. Question part B, describe how a mixture of sand and water can be separated. So for you to separate a mixture of sand and water, there are 2 methods that you can use, either decantation or filtration. So I'd like us to describe separating it using filtration. So describing, you give a procedure step by step using a filter paper and a funnel. Pour the mixture. funnel. So after pouring the mixture to the funnel, water is collected as a filtrate. Water is collected as filtrate and summed as residue. That's how you can separate it. Or if you don't want to use filtration, you can use decantation. So that one you can basically say, leave the mixture of sand and water to settle in a beaker. Then after settling, pour water into another beaker slowly, calmly, leaving the sand in the beaker. That is decantation, but what I've described here is filtration. So whichever method would have given you 2 marks. So 1 mark for the first statement, another mark for the second statement. Elements can be represented using chemical symbols. Give the appropriate chemical symbol for each of the following elements. So the symbol for carbon is letter C, symbol for oxygen is O, and the symbol for sodium is Na. Carbon and oxygen are gotten from their English name, and sodium symbol is gotten from the Latin name, which is natrium. So state one use of oxygen in day-to-day life. Oxygen has many uses. One of the uses is it is used by patients with breathing difficulties. If you don't want to write that one, you can also write that oxygen is used by deep sea divers or mountain climbers. So the question 34 was a question on elements. Question 35 about the change of states. The following diagram shows states of matter. So when you see the particles are closely packed, like particles in A, the particle we are talking about is solids. Then when particles are far apart, it is gases. Then in liquids, particles are in between, are in the middle. They are not as closely as packed as particles in solid, and they are not as far apart as particles in gases. So this one is liquids. So name the states of matter represented by A. As I've said, solids, solid, B, gas. Then you have 2 marks. Identify the process labeled X. X is gas changing into solid. And when a gas is changing directly into solid, the process is called sublimation. Why is a solid changing directly into a gas? No, sorry, a little bit sorry for that. Just a point of correction. In A, gas is changing to solid, and when a gas is changing directly into solid, the process is called deposition. Not sublimation. Deposition. Why? When a solid is changing directly into gas, that's what we call sublimation. So remember, sublimation is the opposite of deposition. Sublimation is the opposite of deposition. I hope we are together up to there. The next question, which is question 35. Autotrophism is a mode of nutrition where plants make their own food. Name 2 raw material for autotrophism. So autotrophism is a mode of nutrition where living organisms make their own food. So under autotrophism, we can get what we call photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants make their own food in presence of sunlight. So when they say name 2 raw materials required by plants during autotrophism, basically they are wanting us to give the raw materials for photosynthesis. And what are the raw materials for photosynthesis? Raw materials for photosynthesis are the things that are required for photosynthesis to take place. So number one, we have water. Number two, we have sunlight. Of course, you can add chlorophyll and carbon dioxide, CO2. Then chlorophyll, which is the green coloring matter. All of these are raw materials for photosynthesis. What are trophism? Identify the cell organelle where photosynthesis occurs. So chloroplast is a site for photosynthesis. Chloroplast. Photosynthesis will always take place in the chloroplast. State how the following features of a plant leaves affect the photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis, broad leaf surface. So broad leaf surface means a lot of light is captured, allows capturing of sunlight, capturing of enough sunlight, hence faster photosynthesis, hence faster photosynthesis. So with a broadleaf, enough light is captured, and when enough light is captured, photosynthesis occurs faster, or a lot of food is created by the leaf as compared to leaves with tiny surfaces. So network veins is widespread. It is widespread it is widespread on the leaf. It's widespread on the leaf. It's widespread on the leaf for nourishment. Hence photosynthesis. Nourishment means these veins are widespread to all parts of the leaf. First of all, to transport water and mineral source to the leaf by the use of xylem, and at the same time to remove manufactured food from the leaf to all other parts of the leaf using the phloem cell. So network veins, their main purpose is to allow for nourishment of the leaf. Hence 1 mark. The next question is a question of shows a food web. The following diagram shows a food web in an ecosystem. Use the food web to construct one food chain that ends with a tertiary consumer. So in a food chain, we start with producers, which are green plants. From producers, we go to primary consumers. From primary consumers, we go to tertiary consumers, and then to secondary consumers, then to tertiary consumers. Remember, the arrow always points to the eater. So here, when we start, the rat will eat the plant, and so the plant is the primary consumer, rat is the secondary consumer. The snake will eat the rat, which is the plant is the producers, rat is the primary consumers, and the snake will eat the rat, so the snake is the secondary consumer, and the hawk will eat the snake, so the hawk is the tertiary consumers. So if you want to go with a route that ends with the tertiary consumers, we have to move from plant to rat to snake, then to hawk. Remember, the arrow points to the eater. So we shall start with plants, then an arrow. Remember, the arrow points to the eater. From plants, we go to the rat, which is the primary consumer. from the rat, we go to the snake, which is secondary consumers. Then last but not least, we finish with the hawk, which is the tertiary consumer. Remember, our question says that our food chain should end with a tertiary consumer. Otherwise, if they had just asked for us to create a food chain, we could use any route. We could go with plant, gazelle, then snake, or probably hawk also. That's another route. Or we can go with a route that contains plant, rat, then hawk. But our answer should be an answer that ends with a tertiary consumer. So apart from plants, rat, snake, then hawk, we could also use a route that goes with plants, gazelle, snake, then hawk, or we could go with plants as the producers, because they are called producers because they incorporate the energy into the ecosystem. Then gazelle, then from the gazelle we go to snake, then we finish with the hawk. This is also a food web that ends with the tertiary consumers. The next question: identify the producers in the food web. So producers are always green plants. So in this case, the producers are the plants. And why are we calling them producers? Because they incorporate energy into the ecosystem and they make their own food, hence the name producers. Explain the effect of drought on the ecosystem. So when there is drought, the first thing that will happen, plants will dry. And when plants dry, the population of all other organisms will reduce terribly in the ecosystem. So effects of Nini means plants will dry, resulting to decreased number of all organisms in the ecosystem, because all other organisms depends on the green plants either directly or indirectly. For example, the rat and the gazelle depends on green plants directly, but the snake and the hawk depends on the plants indirectly. So in any case drought comes, the plants will dry. And when plants dry, what happens to the other animals? Their population reduces. And if their population does not reduce, maybe they migrate to another ecosystem. Question 37. Excretion. Kidneys are part of the urinary system that prevent accumulation of waste into the body to dangerous levels. True. Name other parts of the human urinary system. So apart from kidneys, we have ureter. We have bladder or the urinary bladder. You can put the urethra. Then you have blood vessels. And with the blood vessels, we are talking about the renal artery and the renal vein. The renal artery and the renal vein. I can just sketch the urinary tract system. So that's how it looks like. This is the kidney, this is the urethra, this is the bladder, and this is the urethra. Bladder, urethra, kidney, and that is the left kidney. So that's just but a sketch. Name the functions of the parts labeled in A. So let's assume our parts are the urethra and the bladder. So the urethra transports urine from the kidney to the bladder or urinary bladder. So that's the function of the ureter. I'm assuming your answers are the ureter and the bladder. The bladder temporarily stores urine. So that's the function of the bladder. Other answers: urethra allows urine to get outside of the body. Then blood vessels, of course, their main function is to nourish, to bring blood to the kidney for purification and to remove the purified blood from the kidney to other parts of the body. The blood vessels are two. We have the renal vein and the renal artery. Name two waste products excreted by the kidney. So the kidney helps to remove excess water, have excess salt, or you can write urea. Of course, we have others like ammonia, medicines. All of them can be excreted through the kidney. So question 38, the following setup represent a simple electric circuit. As you can see, this is a simple electric circuit containing the bulb, wire, switch, and the cell. So identify the source of electricity in the setup. Dry cell is the source of electricity. So it's the cell. The cell is the source of electricity. You can call it a cell, dry cell, or a battery. So the form of energy that is contained in a cell is called chemical energy. State the observation made when the switch is turned on. So when the switch is turned on, the bulb lights. The bulb lights. The bulb lights when the switch is turned on. The bulb lights. When the switch is turned on, the bulb lights because there will be flow of electrical energy through the wire. So the bulb lights. So the picture below shows a rope fixed on one end of the wall and held on one side. As you can see, this is a hand. Of course, this is a hole and this is a rope. So describe how wave can be generated in the rope. So for you to generate the wave in the rope, first of all, when the rope is loosely held, then moved up and down periodically, a transverse wave is created. So when the rope is held loosely, and then the hand is periodically moved up and down, periodically moved up and down, a transverse wave is formed. A transverse wave is formed. So when the rope is held loosely, then the hand is periodically moved up and down. A transverse wave is formed. That's how the wave can be generated. So name the type of a wave generated. Of course, as I've said, it's a transverse wave. Transverse wave, where vibration of particles is perpendicular to the direction of wave motion. Remember, the hand is moving up and down, so vibration of particles automatically will be perpendicular to the direction of wave motion. So this is how a transverse wave looks like. Another type of a wave is called longitudinal wave, where vibration of particles is parallel to the direction of wave motion. Name one example of a type of a wave in B. So example for transverse wave, we can say is the water waves, have light waves, among many others. Question 40. The following diagram represents a setup to demonstrate certain factors affecting pressure in liquids. So we have holes, 3 holes, 1, 2, then hole R, and water jets coming from the 2 holes, not hole R, then water in a bottle. State the factors that is being investigated. The factor that is being investigated here is pressure increases with the depth. How pressure increases with the depth. So, or how it decreases with height, or how pressure decreases with height. It increases with depth, but it decreases with height. Simple as that. So the factor being investigated here is depth, or you can just say height. As simple as that. Indicate on the diagram how water jet come out from R. So the water jet that comes from R, it will be in between the upper hole and the lower hole. So it will be, the water jet will be that way, that comes from R. Remember, the lower hole will throw the water farthest, then R in the middle, then the upper one will throw the least distance from the bottle. So you indicate, then you get your 1 mark. Apart from the factors stated above, name one factor that affects pressure in liquids. So when it comes to factors affecting pressure in liquids, it comes with the formula which says pressure. From the formula which says pressure is equals to rho, which is density, h, which is height, then gravity. The factors that affect pressure comes from this formula. So the first factor that affects pressure is density, which is given by rho. The second one is height. Then the third one is gravity. So remember, height, we've written it in Roman A as one of the factors being demonstrated. So when you're writing your answer in Roman in part C, always use your answer should be density or gravity. But for you to get factors affecting pressure in liquids, always the factors come from this formula, rho Hg, which is the formula for calculating pressure. So this is Kjsea, paper 1, section B. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope the answers are good for you and they'll help you for revision. Thank you.